Hello and welcome to episode 60 of Entertainment of Excellence, the podcast where we talk about films, TV, all of it. Hi, I'm Ollie.
I'm Thom.
And I'm Ben.
And today we're talking about the 1998 film Following. This will contain spoilers.
Yeah, that's 16.
So then, this is Nolan's it's his debut feature film. So, obviously with it being Nolan, the plot is not in chronological order.
One edgy lad.
It's not.
It is not, because we have all seen the film, and we know.
We've
that it
definitely
is.
not just read the IMDb description.
Yeah, definitely not. So it follows.
It's a joke.
It's a
joke.
Someone who calls himself Bill but is credited as the young man, who initially he just kind of follows people around for fun because he's, it's like people are interesting and he might use the material to help for his writing. And then this guy who is a burglar, but he doesn't really take many valuable things. He just likes the thrill of breaking into people's houses, kind of takes him in, and they start robbing houses together, and then it all gets like kind of tangled with. He meets this woman who's got a dodgy ex-boyfriend who is apparently blackmailing her, and then he has to like steal the blackmail material from a safe, but then it turns out that she wasn't actually being blackmailed, and it was all a ploy that the man that started him on the thieving was setting him up to as a possible suspect for a crime that the other guy, who's called Cobb, the burglar man, was a suspect in, and he didn't want to get arrested. But then you think it's that, but then you find out from the police that actually it was so that guy could kill the woman and blame it on Bill. And that's the whole plot.
The bald
yeah,
guy.
who's working for the bald guy.
Yeah.
And that's the plot, right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, you did a pretty good job.
Yeah, you did.
Summarised a Nolan film.
I mean, I'd say that describing it like that, the plot does seem quite convoluted, but I think the way it's told is relatively easy to follow, despite the fact there's quite a lot of sort of changes in time.
It took me a bit to figure out what it was doing in terms of the jumping around, like when things were, because I didn't actually notice the change in hair for some reason and his clothes, and then I noticed it before he said about changing the hair. But I caught on fairly early on. Obviously, the bit where he'd been beaten up was at a different time, but
with the glove in his mouth.
Took a while for like the dating the woman and the leather jacket scenes were at different times. But then when I figured that out, it started to make sense, and it uses the non-chronological order to kind of make reveals. Like it was what's the intrigue? Why is he looking in the piano stool? Oh, it's because the earring was put there. And
I mean, sometimes I'd say sometimes it does use it effectively like that, but sometimes it does seem a little bit unnecessary, and he's just doing it for the sake of it. Like when you see him coughing up the glove and stuff, and when you see them beating up earlier on. I guess it just
that was just supposed to kind of show like it was like something bad is going to happen to him.
Yeah.
I'd say that
it helped with revealing the thing of Cobb and Is she ever named, the woman? No, she's credited as the blonde. So, that you find out later on that they're colluding and that they've kind of set him up in this way. And the thing of then later finding out, like, the blonde who was saying about being burgled, it was actually him that robbed her and stuff like that, helped.
Yes. Cobb, is that an Inception reference?
It is. There are people who have drawn things, because in Inception, the guy called Cobb is also a stealer, except he steals ideas. And also, Cobb in Inception is trying to get something from a safe, but is like tricked by a character in it. I was looking at the similarities. It's very similar, so I think that in Inception it is a deliberate reference. Yeah, it's called Cobb.
I mean, it does seem a bit of a coincidence that he's in the cast. He's the only person that actually has a name. So
yeah.
It's definitely significant that he chose that. It also kind of reminded me of The Handmaid in the way that it would like go back and show you things, obviously in sort of different time periods. Reveal a different characters' motives and them working together.
Yeah, but I would say The Handmaid did it more in kind of a we're going back the whole section and seeing it again from a different perspective, whereas this is more like now we understand that this is a person colluding with whatever.
Yeah.
And adds in But no, I see what you mean, yeah. Well, obviously that came out like 20 years after.
Yeah. That's right. I don't really... I've seen some critic reviews that are like, oh, it's quite derivative of other things, but I think from other things that I've seen, I think this is quite an interesting, unique concept that I thought was executed really well.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't get those saying that it's derivative, because I don't think that the non-chronological thing had been played out that much at this point, because it is really... well, I mean, it'd been done in Citizen Kane, obviously. That's the famous one. But other than that, not much. And it was interesting that he kind of went with the black and white, I bet, was also to kind of cover up the kind of cheap quality of it, but puts you in this noir style that works with then the non-chronological order quite well. And it's not in a... it's different from the Pulp Fiction manner where that's just non-chronological because it's just following different stories. Whereas this actually does it to kind of, in the end, it all wraps up and makes sense and everything falls into place.
Yeah, I don't really know what was it meant to be derivative of? Like, I can't...
I don't know, the reviews were just like, been seen before, and I was like, really? And then other reviews were like, yeah, this is unique.
To be honest, I'm not entirely sure whether it's on about the the non-chronological way of storytelling, or just some of the other details, like the noir style and stuff. But I think the way that it's combined, like he combines everything, is very unique. And I think that especially in the third act, you start to like in the last 10 minutes or so. I think as everything starts to come together, you see some sort of early glimpses of what sort of becomes known as the Nolan style later on, where he's like wrapping everything together in quite a tight way, and all the stories are interlinking. I think that's very Nolan-esque.
Yeah.
Because it is Nolan, but...
And I think it was kind of unique in that it was the noir, but it was British noir. Very... I could see as the only other place it could have been set if it was American was like New York.
Yeah, like I originally thought it was in New York, and then just did a double take of everyone's speaking with like a Cockney accent, like
and but then from that point it's very British. The kind of like the flat buildings and the roof scenes, and also the fact that like the criminals use like hammers and things instead of guns.
Yeah.
So it kind of really works with the Britishness of it, like more of a serious, kind of like Guy Ritchie film.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Ben, have you seen a Guy Ritchie film?
No.
Ollie, you've seen Snatch, haven't you?
Yeah, I've seen Snatch.
There we go. You've seen a single Guy Ritchie film, which is the same as me.
Yeah. Unless there's one sneaky one, like
there's
when I said I hadn't seen any Scorsese films, and you were like, "Oh,
seen Hugo."
Yeah, Hugo.
Yeah, I keep forgetting Hugo's Scorsese.
The sneaky one is like
Shaun the Sheep.
Oh,
movie.
he directed the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes.
Oh yeah, I've seen
that.
And Man from U.N.C.L.E.
I've seen the Sherlock films.
Did he direct? Yeah, he did direct Man from U.N.C.L.E. Have you seen that?
I haven't. No,
but I've seen the Sherlock films.
I've seen Man from U.N.C.L.E., so I've actually seen. I think I've seen like.
You've seen everything.
I've not seen everything.
Well,
I can't remember how many of the Sherlock Holmes ones
from
I've
like
seen.
every director, or like mention a director, and you'll just be like, "Oh yeah, the guy that did this film. That was a good film."
Yeah, I've now finally seen a Paul Thomas Anderson film, so there's another director to check off the list.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very proud.
Yeah,
you should be.
Speaking of directors, as I mentioned, that the third act reminded me a lot of sort of later Nolan stuff. But do you think up until that point, because obviously when you think of Nolan now, it's more of like the big budget franchise stuff. But when it's stripped back to, what did you say, £6,000 or something?
$6,000, so
yeah.
less than £6,000.
Wait, that was the budget?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Bloody
it's
hell.
crazy. I was like, I know it's low budget, but 6,000 is nothing.
Like when I saw like the credits and like how they were presented, I kind of guessed it'd be low budget because like it wasn't like a huge list. It was just like one guy that did like the coloring and two guys that edited it, including one of whom was Nolan. But like 6,000.
Well, they have to shoot everything on a Saturday because a lot of them were either students or working. So that's why it took over a year to film, because they had to shoot every Saturday. So they didn't get that much time. And one of the reasons it's in black and white, obviously, is for the noir style, but also apparently it was easier to light.
Yeah, because
so
I get that way.
That would save time. Yeah.
But I think that style works really well, and I think just the fact knowing that it was this low budget and they had all these difficulties to overcome sort of enhances the film a bit, because
because there were a few issues, because there's a lot of the main issues for me was like the ambient noise. I always found it kind of distracting, like where either it was too constant, like in the cafe scene when he first meets Cobb, you could kind of tell that everything was just there. Where like the things on the table, when it's got that like cheap sound. I don't know what they do in. I think in like actual films they overdub all the sounds of like chair scrapes and things like that.
Yeah, it's usually.
But in this, you could tell that was different. And then the scene in the bar with the bald man and the blonde, like the background talking kept cutting in and out, and that was a bit distracting.
Yeah, and like
they were the only technical issues I noticed. I kept trying to look for cameraman shadows, but I don't think I saw any.
It was also quite annoying when they were outside, like, and he was anyone was talking, but you could tell there was this compressor over it, so just the background noise would just like duck every time he speaks, so you'd kind of get this like effect. But like, for 6,000, I'm just really impressed. Like the level of quality there. Was it? I'm assuming it wasn't actually shot on film. Like that must have been an effect added afterwards.
I can't remember. I'm sure I saw this. It was a single camera, handheld, almost entirely handheld. Apparently, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Google it now.
I'm trying to find it.
Guess
Apparently
we'll have to have Nolan on to interview him.
The budget does mean it's one of the least expensive feature films in history, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's just these extra details that I think, all these like nitpicking of the slight technical imperfections. I think that's kind of adds to the just the style of it, and I think what he had, because it's so driven by the story and the way that it's all links together, and like the characters are very intriguing, and I think he does a good deal of a good job of kind of creating them as kind of enigmatic at the start, and you don't fully understand who they are, because obviously the concept of the film of this guy just randomly following people, which actually doesn't feature too prominently in the rest of it, but that's a very weird concept. So I like the way that the characters are introduced at the start in a more mysterious way, and then it's only at the end of the film where you start to fully understand what their goals are and like how all their behaviors are interacting and stuff.
Yeah, I can confirm that this was actually shot on film, 16mm film.
Yeah, I mean, it was very.
The scenes were heavily rehearsed beforehand, apparently, so that they only needed 1 or 2 takes because Nolan was paying for the film out of his salary, as in like the actual physical film stock.
Yeah.
He was paying for that out of his salary, so yeah, everything was 1 or 2 takes because they just did it over and over and over.
Oh.
Well, that's pretty interesting. And his uncle is the policeman in the interrogation thing. So that kind of shows you the people he got. And the people that they've not, like the young man actor or Bill hasn't really been in anything since, but he gave him cameos in the Batman trilogy and stuff like that.
Yeah, because when you go on the actor of Cobb, he hasn't been in anything else, apparently. I thought he did a pretty good job.
It's probably just some random.
I thought he was alright, yeah, but
there are a few moments where the acting's a bit iffy, but
yeah,
that's kind of expected.
But it's basically a student
film. I feel like that kind of.
He made this while he was at uni.
Like, I'm going to keep driving home the point that I didn't think it was, didn't know it was 6,000, but like it seemed quite a like. When I say like a simple movie, but not in like a bad way, just as in like it doesn't need loads of like really cinematic production or anything for it to like exist. It kind of just focuses on the story, and then like the rest of the aesthetics just kind of fall into place and help reinforce that. Like
yeah.
Which I think is a big appeal behind a lot of his other films, because even when he does get that big budget, I think it's always the story that's at the core of it. Even when he has like the flashy special effects and the music and stuff, I think he's still very narrative driven. When you compare it to kind of other modern action stuff.
What did you think of like? It seems strange. Like some of the quotes seem very like this is going to be the theme, but I couldn't figure out what it was. Like Cobb saying like you take it away to show them what they had.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What was taken away though? That's what I want to know.
I mean, I guess it was like, well, because he was talking about like, the stuff in the box, and it's like maybe it's something to do with the fact that like people like stockpile these sort of things in like the box, but not really look at them, and then like once someone's rifled through them and
but I feel like there was supposed to be something taken away from Bill.
Yeah, because I feel like when he was referencing that, he was making like a bigger. Well, he was kind of, because the whole film he seemed to be setting up, like Bill's incarceration. I thought that there'd be some point to why he wanted him to almost be punished or him to be the culprit, but it never really seemed like, apart from the fact that I don't know, maybe it's something to do with the fact that he was unemployed, but it almost seemed like the thing about make you appreciate what you've got. He'd almost be trying to punish people that are like in privileged positions and don't really appreciate everything they have. Whereas that never really seemed like it was the case with Bill.
Yeah, because one of the things that was obvious is like the people wanting their privacy to be invaded. So there's the thing with the diary about where Bill says like everyone wants someone to read their diary, like it's personal, but you kind of want someone to see it. And then Cobb later kind of lets him break into his own apartment and pretends it's someone else's, and then gets Cobb to tries to get him to say what he thinks about the person.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. I figured out fairly early on that it was his apartment because it just seemed like, yeah, as soon as he started lying, it was like, oh yeah, this is definitely his apartment. But I thought that was kind of an interesting idea of wanting to, and then maybe when he went to the police, that was like him wanting to explain his life, like because he was so lonely, he feels like you need someone to observe your life for it to mean something. I don't know. But I thought that was cool, and I liked that I like that they acknowledged the fact that they kept finding like spare keys.
Yeah.
Later on, like Cobb was saying, like, "Oh, come on, I couldn't have it be another spare key," because he'd obviously been planting them to specifically get him to rob places in the same way as him, so that he could set him up for the murder at the end.
Yeah.
Yes. I noticed that I guess this plays into the budget thing again, that there really wasn't that much music, and when there was, it was just kind of like ambient drones. Like,
I didn't feel like it needed it. In fact, I did notice when there was music, and I was like, oh, this is actually fairly good. I mean, not like standout. I was like, yeah, this is all right.
Yeah, it fit.
Yeah.
What did you think of the running time, 69 minutes? I think it worked well because the pacing didn't seem like, it seemed alright given like you jumping around in time a lot. It's sometimes hard to sort of keep a consistent pace going with that, but it seemed to work pretty well.
Yeah, no, the pacing was solid, I thought, and maybe it could have been a little longer. I kind of did actually want there to be more of Bill just following people around, because I thought that was an interesting concept that they ditched quite quickly.
Yeah. And yeah, I also feel like you could have had a bit more of an exploration of why he was following Cobb, like why he became so fixated on him. And I think that would have been, he'd probably been able to achieve that if he showed him like following a few people beforehand for a bit longer. I also feel like maybe the last revelations at the end was perhaps slightly rushed, and it was very fast paced, I'd say. But I think the fact that that he was kind of constrained to just 90, well, not 90, like 70 minutes, was like a further thing that he had to deal with, and I think that's just another feat that he kind of overcame to make it more impressive, that he's able to achieve all this in such a short duration of time. But another 10 minutes or so I don't think would have hurt. It just helped to sort of clear some things up a bit more, and make some of the reveals at the end perhaps a bit more satisfying.
Yeah, and although I think that the final revelation was kind of, I don't know how it could have been made that much longer. I think it was fine with the police kind of explaining it to him. I'm sure it's been done in other films before, a similar thing. But I'm just interesting to note that on the note of the music, that he did actually use the same composer in Memento, Insomnia, and The Prestige. So he's done things later on, and I know a few other films. Like I think Cabin in the Woods was fairly well received from that horror film from 10 years ago. Or am I making that up? Yeah. that was fairly well received. I was correct. So he did actually go on to do other stuff.
Yeah.
So that's, it's a decent composer, which is why the music was good.
Yeah.
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 But I do definitely agree that to say it's called following, and that's kind of the main concept that I guess people are drawn into it. I think that was it kind of took us quite a surprising turn when that didn't seem to be anywhere near the main point of the film, and they started to divert your attention into the burglary, and then obviously that takes its own turn.
Yeah, although to be fair, the burgling was kind of seen as a voyeuristic, like looking into people's lives.
Yeah,
So-
I think that was one of the wider themes about like that voyeurism and the fact that I think all of these characters were at different points in the film presented as being sort of these cold, manipulative people who were exploiting the other characters, but at the same time they kind of put on that facade of friendliness and stuff. So I think it was a good exploration of just people in general and like the different the ways that different people present themselves at different times, and that's definitely something that I think was set up at the start with the idea of him following people and that voyeurism, as you were saying.
And it was very, as well as like managing to have those kind of themes, it was also very tightly written for like a debut micro budget film. Like there were no things that kind of went nowhere. Like even random details, like him signing the credit card, then became important later on. And living in people's houses when they'd gone on holiday, that turned out to be like David Lloyd, and things like that. Everything mattered to the plot while also having these kind of, the themes of looking in on people's lives.
Yeah, and
picking out someone from a crowd.
They're also kind of able to set up a few like red herrings as well through the flashbacks and flash forwards kind of. But I think the only thing that, as I was saying about like the fact that it might have been revealed a bit too quickly at the end, I did like the idea that they set these things up that then later served in with the plot, like the credit card and stuff. But I think it did start to become a bit of just like the policeman at the end just listing the things, and then he's like overcome with shock that he's been set up this way. But I feel like it was perhaps done a bit too quickly, because you have in the space of like a minute he referenced loads of different things from in the film to try and trace back through the hour you've just watched and try and remember all these different things that link together.
Yeah, I feel like some of that was effective, but I kind of see what you mean. It was just like, oh, but there's this, and it's, oh yeah, it was this. Oh, and the credit card. Oh, the credit card. Like,
yeah,
it was clever and stuff, but like, it was kind of a little bit just like, oh, remember this? Well, now it's relevant. It's like,
yeah.
like
that was a bit that annoyed me, because like it was clever and it was set up earlier, but it did just feel like they were sort of listing them off.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I like the concept of it because it's like it will, as you said, it was like really tightly written, and it shows that like there was a lot of thought that went into the writing process. But also, I don't really like the, hey, you still awake? Do you remember this moment? Well, it's relevant now. Do you remember this moment and this one and this one and this one? Do you get the point that he's like trapped now and going to be accused? Well, here's another one. Yeah.
I kind of liked it, so.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
like
the fact that we're like pointing this out as like one of the biggest flaws, like shows how like really well done it was. Like, we really are kind of nitpicking, especially given it was only like the last minute of the film.
And I feel like it was kind of that weird. It's like that weird dichotomy where I feel like, in one hand, it was really effective because he was able to fit all this into such a short time frame, but also, on the other hand, it would have been quite nice to flesh out some of these ideas, but then it wouldn't necessarily all tie in as well, and you wouldn't really. I don't know. It just kind of seems more impressive that he was able to fit all this into just over an hour. Whereas if you were developing these ideas more, then maybe it would, add an extra 10 or 15 minutes to the runtime, and then it wouldn't feel as tight.
Yeah.
One other thing that is my nitpicking criticism, which is because of the low budget, is like the violence was never very visceral or impactful. Like, you could obviously tell, like, the hammering, they were never really hitting anyone.
Yeah, when somebody got headbutted, that was pretty pathetic.
Yeah, you could tell there was never really any impact,
It would
which
kind
is
of show
obviously
the other perspective of the person being hit, and it would look really minor.
Yeah, and it's obviously because of the low budget, but still, it detracts from the film.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it that much, but it was a bit annoying. Luckily, it wasn't that reliant on the violence, but the bits that it did use weren't great.
Mm.
Tom, are you gonna tell us the crazy credit that you found?
Oh, okay. There's a crazy credit that was actually an interesting crazy credit. So the film was shot from 1996 to 97 and was released in 1998, but the copyright listed in the credits is 1999. That's kind of crazy.
What's the reason for
pretty
that?
Crazy.
Don't know.
It was a typo or something.
It just listed as 1999.
But that was a very crazy credit, Tom.
That's one of the craziest credits we ever had. I mean, there is a chronological cut of the film, but I feel like that kind of detracts a bit from the intricacy of the plot, because you're not really setting things up then if you just show them and then immediately get the reveal.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it would work.
How do they know when the... Oh, never mind. You can do it with Memento as well. But I've not seen it, so I don't know how it would work.
Don't you think the restaurant scene was a bit weird when the woman walked in and then Cobb was like, "Oh no, let's stay. I want to have pudding," and then he was like, how did he know that she wouldn't react?
What?
You know, the restaurant scene where he used the other credit cards, and then the first woman that they burgled came into the restaurant.
Oh, because if she did react, then she would have to say that she was at home cheating on him.
Yeah, I know, but she just said, "Oh, I went home by myself just to check something, and then I came across them."
I think it would be... I think she would have been too nervous. I think it's understandable. Especially because they didn't really take anything.
Yeah. Cobb seemed a bit calm, but then again, that was kind of his whole character.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he was kind of used to that sort of thing, so as long as he talked a bit, got out fast, and didn't leave her time to question, then, like, they were okay.
Oh, also, he may have... It was suggested that he knew everyone.
Yeah, I just realised that.
Yeah.
What, so they were just,
so
like,
it might
acting?
be that. Yeah. But I don't know, that was kind of suggested.
Hmm.
Yeah. Cool and
So up to
interesting.
you. Cool and interesting.
Makes you see the film in a whole new light.
Yeah.
Well,
Anything else we've got to say?
What would you rate it?
I think the meta score is pretty harsh. Like some of the critics' reviews are quite.
What's
Yeah.
what's the meta
As we were
score?
saying about like the
60.
60.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty harsh.
I think I enjoyed it about as much as Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, so I was going to give it a 7.2.
Thank you for your rating, Tom.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna go higher than that. I thought it was kind of, I don't know, out of all the films we've done, it kind of reminded me a bit of The Interview, like just
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
of the ideas in it and the fact that it was quite low budget and stuff. But I gave The Interview quite low. I just gave it a 7.3. But I'm gonna give this a 7 point. You know what? I'm gonna go 7.8.
Ooh.
So
Well-
it's wow, that's a lot of films it's better than.
Well, I didn't
So-
like it as much as The Interview, but I gave The Interview pretty high as a 7.8. So I'm gonna go 7.6.
Damn. I gave the lowest rating. This is
You did.
crazy. You like this as much as Marriage Story? Okay, I'm not gonna get into that.
Me or Ollie?
Both of us.
Ollie. Oh, yeah, both of you actually.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Alright, it is 7.
But-
Oh my, we're back into the 7.5. 7.5.
No.
That's your two's fault. Well, actually, it's
Your fault. Give it higher.
no,
Bump it up.
no, it's your fault.
I'll bump it up if you want me
I'll
to.
just notice.
actually-
An A.
It's actually Ben's fault for giving it in the middle. See, if Ben went one of our sides, or way lower or way higher, then it would have been fine.
I just find it interesting
Well,
that most of them
same
are
with
around
you.
7.5, 7, 7, 7, 6, 6, 6, 6, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2. Freddy got fingered at 0.3.
0.3.
We haven't even got any ones. So if you have a film that you think falls into the 0.3 to 2.2 range, please do send it in. And we'll definitely probably do it at some point.
Yeah.
Or anything lower than a 0.3 if you want to.
If you have a
That's
film
even
that you
possible.
think is a 0.2 or a 0.1, or if you're feeling really edgy and you think it's a straight up 0.0, then
I
we'd
think-
love to hear.
I also want to say I'd be happy filling out the 8.5 to 9.6 range.
Nah.
No, I
Yeah,
don't think
for a
it's
good
perfect
time.
0
Oh, okay. Perfect 0.
or a perfect 10, but I'd rather do a 0. to be honest.
You'd rather a
What if
perfect
we-
0 than a perfect
What
10.
if we have something that's so objectively bad that it's a 0.0, but then we watch a film that's worse than it? Do we then go into negative
Why are you so
numbers?
paranoid? You were paranoid about this in Space Odyssey as well. Like, just
Just
go
do it
for
the
it.
same.
Just,
Who's gonna check up on you, Ben? Live your life.
just.
This is a really important issue, guys.
live your life.
We'll live your life.
You
Look,
don't
as far
realise
as
what
you
you've
knew
got
at the
till
time,
things taken
you can-
away from you.
you can change your ratings, Ben, over time. You know, we literally did.
Can we?
There was an episode of you doing that.
Yeah, but there's a difference between, like, the first 4 episodes, and then we gave up for 2 years, and like, oh wait,
Oh,
actually,
really?
I'm gonna shift this up by 0.1. Just
If
so,
you see
like,
if you see a better film or a worse film, then you can go like, oh, maybe this film wasn't as bad as I thought, and then change your rating.
hmm.
I know we said that we're always objectively correct, but that's not true.
I'll just give it the same. Like, if you give something a 10 and then you think something else is slightly better, just give it a 10 as well.
All right.
I think that would break.
Anyway, submission spotlight. We have one, but no one ever sends anything in. Please send something in so we're not sad.
Aw.
Thank you.
Don't let us be sad.
Exactly, that would be
That's
big
sad.
bad.
I hope
Okay.
Kubrick submits something.
Oh, come on, Kubrick, if you're listening, like, come on. We would love to review one of your works.
Yeah,
22 years back from the dead.
Orson Welles, come on. Wait, you're lacking. Ever since Citizen Kane dropped, been real quiet. Come on,
Or
Orson
Nolan.
Welles. What?
Well, I feel like we need Nolan on for the interview now to.
Yeah,
Ask him about the
Christopher
budget of
Nolan,
this
if you're
film.
listening, we'll have you on next episode.
Yeah, because we know you're a very low budget filmmaker,
Yeah.
as we can tell from this one film of yours that we've watched.
I feel like Tenet had a budget of about $6,000 as well.
That's a higher budget than this podcast.
I think it'd be funny if this was the only like Nolan film someone had ever watched, and then they like notice Nolan and they go up to him and they kind of approach him as if he's a small content creator.
Well, and they're just
I
like,
think that'd be
I
cool.
saw your film.
I was like, oh man, I saw your like student film. It was really cool. I hope that you go and do bigger and better things because I think you've got real potential.
I'm gonna lie, if that was me as Nolan, I'd pretty enjoy that.
So is this guy just like been frozen for 20 years and hasn't put the date of the film that this came out?
No, it's just like, oh, it's a real shame you never got to make anything else.
So this guy's gonna recognise Nolan despite never even looking him up, because otherwise he'd have probably seen that he's done a few other films. But
He just looked at
this
the
like some
IMDb
boomer
page
with a
for
broken
this film.
Wi-Fi or some shit?
he just
Yeah.
recognised him from his uncle playing the police, and he was like, "That looks like that guy's nephew."
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have
Oh.
any recommendations? Any other like low budget student films like the ones Christopher Nolan are known for?
I don't think I've watched any more films.
Um,
Oh, I finished the new season of Atypical. That was pretty good. So yeah. Have I seen any more films? Oh, I rewatched Aliens.
Oh yeah,
That's a low budget. I'm pretty sure we actually bought it just before it went on Disney Plus.
Disney Plus
Rip.
bad.
Because I was like, I thought it would have been on Disney Plus before because I knew it was part of 21st Century
did you
Fox
buy
or
it?
20th Century Fox. Well, because I thought it would have already been on because I knew that Disney owned Fox, which owns the Alien franchise. But oh well.
Okay, I've got a recommendation, but it's weird.
Shall I
It's
go first?
oh yeah,
Or
you
am I
go
ranking
first.
the order. Okay.
TOB.
I mean, you can go first if you want.
Oh sure. Well, given it's a special week for actually
Ooh.
recommending something.
Oh.
It's also kind of not a style of media we've had before, I don't think. So it's kind of like, so on Apple Music, like what the Weeknd does is he has this like show, it's kind of like a radio show, but it's like on Apple Music and stuff. It's called Memento Mori, and it's basically just like him playing a
Is
load
that
of
Game
his...
of Thrones reference? What?
Don't think so. It's just
Isn't that a Game of Thrones thing, Ollie?
it's just
Like,
like a
in what
Latin
context?
phrase that means "remember you'll die."
Yeah, they say it in Game of Thrones.
I mean, maybe
Don't they with
maybe
the iron
Weeknd is
coin?
Yeah.
Game
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Thrones
yeah.
stan.
Yeah, we know this. Yeah, Game of Thrones references. It's also apparently a huge thing outside of it, but no, it's a Game of Thrones reference.
Yeah, so in this show that was named after the Game of Thrones quote, he basically just plays like a load of songs that are like his influences and stuff. So, like, there'll be like some stuff, but then, so a few months ago he did like a 5-year anniversary edition of his album Kissland. It was like lots of like experimental electronic stuff, and he's recently released a song like yesterday, which is good. You should check it out. It is called Take My Breath. It's definitely not him talking about his girlfriend's choking fetish. But this time it was just an hour and a half of like synthwave and like electronic tracks. Like, it was really cool. There's stuff like from like Sebastian Tellier, Kavinsky, obviously Daft Punk. There was the prologue from ELO's Time on there as well, which opened the whole thing, which was kind of like damn. It's just really cool. It's like you wouldn't have thought that like a lot of these influences would have inspired him, but like they do. So it is cool. That is our first radio inverted commas show recommendation.
Nice.
Cool.
Right. I know a while ago, Thom recommended the show How to Sell Drugs Online Fast.
Oh yeah, season 3 came out, didn't it?
Yeah. I've got a couple of episodes left of season 3.
I've not seen season 3 yet.
It's pretty good. I'd say the only thing about the show is I wouldn't necessarily go into it expecting it to be a comedy as like it's advertised, because I wouldn't. There are some funny moments, but I'd say it's more of a serious, like, sort of drama thing. But it is good. But they also released this hour and a half, I guess, documentary about the person that the main character in that show is based on, which it's very different to the show, like in terms of the fact that I guess towards the end of season 2 and the start of season 3, the main character in the show tries to be more independent, but in the rest of it he's kind of working with other people, whereas in real life it seems like this was all just a one-man job of 19, 20-year-olds selling drugs in his bedroom, and obviously it goes on to when he was caught, and it like, so I because I haven't finished season 3 yet, and I don't know if it would be the last season or not. I'm not really sure how they're going to end that show, and how accurate it will be with what actually happened. But it's quite an interesting like comparison to see how much they've like embellished the truth and like the similarities and differences between what goes on in that and the actual guy that did it, like the mastermind behind it, I guess. And then not necessarily a recommendation, but I also saw Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Is it any good?
Which, in one word, no. I mean, like the first Space Jam's a really fun film. Like, it's not necessarily objectively good, but it's probably the film I've watched the most times. Either that or The Phantom Menace, but two masterpieces there. But this one it's 2 hours long. It feels like it's just meant trying to promote a bunch of Warner Brothers franchises. Like, within this film, there's references to Rick and Morty, Mad Max, Casablanca, DC, The Matrix, Austin Powers, A Clockwork Orange. This is in a few. And like a billion more.
Wow.
And it just feels like really lazy. Some of the acting's terrible. The Looney Tunes are barely well, they're in it, but they don't really feel like they really the core of the film.
They got rid of Lola's boobs.
I know.
Arrgh!
It's so sad. They also got rid of Lola's dialogue. She has like one line.
I saw that clip of like the notorious PIG, and
Oh yeah.
I just wanted to ram my head against a wall.
Oh yeah, no, I did.
Big
I
strap.
have seen that actually.
Yeah.
I've seen a few reviews.
Oh,
There's a
it's 2
Gremlins
hours of
reference
that.
by the looks of it. Is there a
Yeah, there's
Gremlins
about
reference?
everything you can imagine.
Wow, is it like Ready Player One?
Yeah, but
I've heard
worse.
people
And,
compare it.
Worse? What? Even more references to Ready Player One?
but just like lazy references that I don't
Oh,
even
the mask.
understand. Oh yeah, the mask in it. He's in the crowd, just like.
Oh yeah. Oh,
doing
it.
weird faces.
That's
Yeah,
Pennywise, I
is
think.
also in
Yeah.
the crowd.
Wow.
Alex DeLarge and his goons are chilling in the crowd watching the game.
Oh, they are. That's so weird.
So yeah.
But Ollie, it's got Don Cheadle in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He plays someone called Algae Rhythm, and he genuinely looks like he's trying way too hard. But
Is this one of
I
those
think-
like Kangaroo Jack
How could you not like
situations
it?
where like it was like Christopher Walken doing like an okay job, but like you just felt bad for him?
yeah.
How can you
Look,
not like it if it's got Don Cheadle in our Lord and Saviour?
I mean,
I
we
mean,
love Don
LeBron
Cheadle,
also
but like,
was trying a lot, but his acting was.
I mean, he's
wasn't
not an
great.
actor, is he?
I mean, not to say that Jordan's acting was great in the first one, but at least that actually had a bit of life to it, that film. Whereas this is just. It literally feels like an algorithm wrote it, and it's really weird because
You mean
within
an
the film, they
algorithm?
kind of. Yeah. Within the film, like, the whole concept is that the bad guy, Algae Rhythm, he wants to abduct LeBron because he comes up with this proposal that LeBron can be scanned into a bunch of cartoons like Harry Potter and, well, not that that's a cartoon, but like Harry Potter and Batman and stuff. And then LeBron's literally like, oh, why would we do that? That's just a terrible, lazy idea. And then that's literally what this film is. And it's not even as if it's meant to be a satire. It's just, I don't understand it. There's like I saw this video on YouTube about how like Space Jam 2 hates itself, and it's kind of true. I feel like they didn't want to make this, but they just did it for the money. I don't blame them because I think it's making a lot of money.
Yeah.
it's good to sell out as long as it does actually make you money.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. Next week we are
Just-
doing.
Oh, do we have to pick something at random again?
Yeah, because we've prepared and didn't do something beforehand.
Let's find something from the future episodes list.
Well, do you want to do Her?
Oh, I would.
Do who?
Do her. I've hardly met her.
That's a joke.
That is a joke.
It's a joke. Anyway, not her. Her.
What?
No, no
What?
one would do her.
Sorry, I thought it was her.
How would you do her?
Was it not her?
No, her.
Oh. Her?
Yeah, I'd absolutely do her.
Oh, her.
Yeah, her. Yeah, you get it.
Can we just wrap
Yeah.
up the episode?
Thanks for listening. We're on social media, but we never post there. Go to our website. Thanks for listening. Alright, see ya.
All right.
Alright, see ya.